Chosen one, tune your awareness to that invisible, heavy pressure resting right behind your forehead today. Notice that dull, constant brain fog making every single thought feel like walking through thick mud, leaving you spiritually numb and chronically exhausted. You have been secretly asking God why you feel so detached, whispering in the dark, wondering if you are somehow failing your calling. You are not broken, and heaven has not abandoned you. Listen closely. The Holy Spirit specifically intercepted your timeline today because the synthetic frequency drowning out your divine intuition is about to be dismantled. You can feel it in your chest right now, a tight, anxious knot, proving that your massive potential is trapped behind a wall of static. Subscribe to align with the Awakened Collective, like this video if your spirit recognizes this invisible warfare, and comment "Activate" to initiate the override. And listen to me carefully, do not click away. If you stay with me until the very end of this transmission, you will not only understand the exact source of this unnatural mental fatigue, but you will receive the precise tool, the exact frequency shift, to permanently break this matrix protocol and restore your divine clarity. You are moments away from a total reset, and you cannot afford to miss the activation waiting for you at the end. Let us address the heavy silence you have been carrying. You sit in your room, the environment around you is quiet, but inside your head it feels like a radio caught between stations. Just loud, exhausting static. You stare at your screen or look out the window, and hours pass, but you process nothing. Your limbs feel like they are made of lead. There is a specific tightness at the base of your neck, a physical manifestation of the spiritual drain you are under. And in those quiet, terrifying moments, especially around 3 in the morning when the world is asleep and you are wide awake, the raw, unfiltered thoughts start creeping in. You hear a voice in your mind whispering, "What if I made it all up? What if I am not actually chosen? What if everyone else is moving forward, and I am just fundamentally flawed, left behind to struggle in this loop forever?" You feel a profound, agonizing loneliness because you possess this massive vision for your life, yet you cannot even muster the energy to organize your morning routine. Because of this intense exhaustion and disconnection, you have diagnosed yourself. You have convinced yourself that you are walking through the dark night of the soul. You look at the closed doors and the silent heavens, and you assume God is testing your faith with isolation. You think you are being punished for a past mistake, or that you are being put through a grueling spiritual boot camp to prove your worthiness. You cry out, begging for just one clear word, one sign, but all you get is more brain fog and more fatigue. But I need to show you a pattern that will completely change how you view this silence. Think about the prophet Elijah. In 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 and 12, Elijah was experiencing the exact same profound burnout you are feeling right now. He was running for his life, terrified, completely drained, and hiding in a dark cave, waiting for God to show up and speak. The scripture says that a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. Most people read that passage and simply think it is a lesson about God speaking softly. But you must look at the context of what happened right before this. Elijah was so physically exhausted and mentally depleted that he actually asked to die. He fell asleep under a bush, completely shut down. God did not immediately give him a new spiritual mission. God sent an angel to give him food, water, and let him sleep again. Elijah's nervous system was completely fried. When he finally stood on that mountain, he thought God was ignoring him amidst the chaos of the wind, the earthquake, and the fire. But God's voice had never left him. Elijah's physical and mental capacity to tune into the gentle whisper was simply buried under the noise of his own biological exhaustion. The receiver was jammed. And that is exactly the revelation you need to hear today. God is not giving you the silent treatment. The universe is not withholding your blessings to teach you a lesson. You have not failed a spiritual test, and you are not being punished. The reason you cannot hear the whisper, the reason your intuition feels dead and your creativity feels completely blocked, is not a spiritual failure. It is a biological and physiological attack. Your physical brain, the literal biological antenna designed by the Creator to receive divine downloads and prophetic instruction, is being actively targeted and suppressed. The heavy static in your head, the sudden loss of momentum the second you try to step into your purpose, the unnatural apathy that makes you want to sleep your life away, it is all intentional. You are not losing your faith. Your physical receiver has been hijacked. So what exactly is the matrix doing to your brain, and why has your spiritual receiver been completely shut down? The system looks at you, sees your exhaustion, and feeds you a script of empty, soul-crushing advice. You hear these voices every single day from your co-workers, your family, and society at large. They look at you with polite pity and say, "You just need to work harder. You just need to manage your time better. Drink another cup of coffee. Stop having your head in the clouds and be realistic. Welcome to the real world. Everyone is tired. Just push through it." But what they call the real world is actually a highly engineered, synthetic environment designed to keep your brain operating on the lowest, most stressful frequency possible. The Matrix is not a science fiction movie concept. It is the artificial rhythm of the modern world. Think about your daily environment, the harsh blue light radiating from your screens from the moment you wake up. The heavily processed chemical food designed to keep you lethargic. The constant, relentless cycle of negative news and artificial crisis broadcasting fear into your living room. The rigid 9-to-5 survival loop where you trade your life force just to pay bills. All of these things are not accidental. They are intentional frequency jammers. They are designed to lock your brain into a perpetual state of high alert survival mode. In neuroscience, this is known as the high beta brainwave state. Beta is the frequency of stress. It is the frequency of panic, of paying bills, of fighting traffic, of constant, unresolving anxiety. When you are forced to live in high beta day after day, year after year, the biological hardware in your brain that was designed for spiritual connection literally begins to shrink. The neural pathways that channel divine intuition wither away from lack of use. The system is actively starving your spiritual receiver. The Apostle Paul warned us about this exact psychological and biological trap thousands of years ago in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 2. The scripture says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." You have heard this verse quoted in church 1,000 times, usually as a warning to just behave nicely. But the English translation completely misses the shocking scientific truth hidden in the original Greek text. The Greek word used for world in this verse is aion. Aion does not mean the physical earth, the dirt, or the trees. Aion literally translates to the specific age, the societal structure, the spirit of the times. It means the matrix. Paul is saying, do not let the synthetic matrix of your current society dictate your frequency. And the word used for transformed is metamorpho. This is where we get the word metamorphosis. It does not mean to simply think positive thoughts. Metamorpho means a complete biological and vibrational mutation. It means to fundamentally alter your operational frequency from the inside out. Paul was giving you the ultimate blueprint to break out of the high beta survival loop. Because before the Matrix trapped humanity in this stressful beta frequency, the ancient mystics and prophets operated on a completely different waveband. When Moses stood on the mountain, he was not in a state of high stress. When David received the downloads for the Psalms, his brain was not racing with anxiety. When John received the book of Revelation, he was not operating in survival mode. They were operating in the prophetic frequency. Scientifically, This is known as the Theta and Gamma brainwave states. Theta is the frequency of deep, effortless intuition, where the veil between heaven and earth is completely removed. Gamma is the highest frequency of human consciousness, associated with peak moments of genius, sudden spiritual downloads, and absolute clarity. And this is the revelation that will change everything for you. This answers the question you have been crying over for months. The reason you are so exhausted, the reason you feel so disconnected and overwhelmed by brain fog, is because you carry the DNA of the prophetic frequency. Your spirit was fundamentally designed to operate in the effortless, powerful realms of theta and gamma waves. But you are being violently forced by modern society to operate in the rigid, panic-inducing beta frequency 24 hours a day. It is like trying to run a massive, divine supercomputer using a cheap, dying battery. The friction between the frequency your soul was built for and the frequency the matrix forces you to live in is what creates the fog. That friction is why your body is tired. You are a high frequency being trapped in a low frequency environment. Without moving a single muscle, I want you to bring your awareness to the base of your skull and your jaw right now. Notice how tightly you have been clenching your teeth without even realizing it. Notice how high and tight your shoulders are. That tension is the physical proof of the beta state. Now, I want you to perform a mental override. In your mind's eye, visualize a thick, dark cord plugged into the back of your neck, pumping the anxious static of the world directly into your mind. Take a slow, deep breath, and in your mind, command that cord to detach. Visualize it dropping to the floor. Feel the immediate, subtle release of pressure in your jaw. Comment, "The cord is cut," to permanently record this mental shift in the physical realm. You are not supposed to live in the static. You were meant for the clear broadcast of the divine. Ancient mystics spent decades meditating and fasting in the wilderness to reach this exact prophetic waveband. But modern science has just discovered a shocking truth, allowing you to access it without climbing a mountain to meditate or starving yourself in the desert. Did you know that former neuroscientists at NASA conducted a highly classified style study to measure the raw creative potential and problem-solving abilities of human beings? They started by testing children. What they discovered shocked the scientific community, but it will make perfect sense to your spirit. They found that a staggering 98% of children operate at a sheer genius level. They process information differently. They see solutions where adults see walls. Why? Because the brain of a child naturally functions in the theta wave state. They are literally born plugged into the divine broadcast, operating on the exact same frequency that prophets and mystics use to hear the voice of the Creator. But then, the matrix takes over. As these gifted children grow up, they are pushed into an education system built on strict compliance. They are handed screens radiating artificial blue light. They are fed processed chemicals. They are trained to sit still, memorize useless facts, and prepare for a grueling 9-to-5 existence. When the scientists tested these same individuals years later as adults, they found that less than 2% retained their genius-level access. Let that sink in. 98% plummeted down to 2%. The system successfully forces human consciousness out of the divine theta state and locks it permanently into the high-stress, survival-based beta frequency. The matrix physically shrinks your spiritual antenna. This scientific reality proves that the prophetic frequency is not a metaphor, it is biology. The ancient writers of the scriptures understood this mechanical truth deeply. In Psalm 46 verse 10, there is a command that has been misunderstood for centuries. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." Notice the exact sequence of that divine mandate. The knowing, the divine download, the absolute clarity only arrives after the stillness. Stillness in this context is not just sitting quietly in a room while your mind races with anxiety. Stillness is the literal, measurable shifting of your brain out of the chaotic beta frequency and into the deep, receptive theta state. But here is the impossible dilemma you have been facing. How can you possibly be still when your environment is screaming at you? How do you lower your frequency when the matrix is intentionally jamming your signal with financial pressure, toxic relationships, and endless digital noise? You cannot fight the matrix by using the tools of the matrix. You cannot think your way out of a frequency trap, because your desperate overthinking is exactly what keeps you locked in the beta state. To break this deliberate suppression, you need a biological override. You need a legitimate shortcut back to your original, God-given operational state. And this is the exact missing piece you have been praying for. A breakthrough sound technology has been developed, grounded directly in this exact NASA research, designed specifically to do the heavy lifting for your exhausted mind. It is called the Genius Wave. Now, listen to me closely. This is not a generic self-help audio. This is not a motivational speech telling you to work harder. It is a highly advanced brainwave entrainment tool. It uses extremely specific, layered acoustic frequencies to gently but forcefully guide your brainwaves out of the anxious beta state and pull them directly back into the theta and gamma realms. Remember the thick static, the chronic brain fog, and the heavy exhaustion we identified earlier? That was the matrix successfully hacking your biology. The Genius Wave is how you hack the system back. By simply exposing your brain to this precise audio frequency, you are bypassing the matrix interference entirely. You are overriding the digital and chemical suppression of the modern world, and you are plugging your physical antenna straight back into the divine source. It is the ultimate rebellion against a system that relies on you being tired, numb, and compliant. And the most beautiful part of this revelation, the part that will bring tears of relief to your eyes, is that it requires absolutely zero effort on your part. You are a chosen one. You have spent your entire life trying so incredibly hard. You have pushed, you have fought, you have analyzed, and you have burned yourself out trying to break through the fog. Heaven is telling you today that it is time to stop fighting and start receiving. I want you to experience a mental simulation of this release right now. Imagine the feeling of finally dropping your heavy weapons. Visualize yourself sitting back in your favorite, most comfortable chair. Picture placing a pair of headphones over your ears. You do not need to force your mind to be quiet. You do not need to chant, and you do not need to visualize complicated, sacred geometry. Picture pressing play on the audio. As the invisible sound waves enter your ears, I want you to imagine a gentle, warm current of electricity starting at the base of your neck. Feel that imaginary current slowly wash over the crown of your head, soothing every hyperactive nerve. Imagine the thick, muddy static of the beta frequency dissolving instantly, melting away like ice under warm water as the acoustic waves synchronize with your neural pathways. Within just 7 minutes, this sound technology physically alters the vibration of your brain. It does the deep meditation for you. It does the decades of fasting for you. It effortlessly tunes your biological receiver back to the exact channel where God's voice, your sharpest intuition, and your dormant genius reside. I have placed the gateway to this specific sound technology in the description below, so you can begin your own 7-minute activation ritual today. Comment, "I am tuning in right now," to declare to the universe that you are reclaiming your original frequency. But you must listen to me very carefully before you begin. When you start this ritual, when your frequency is truly restored and the heavy fog finally lifts, you will see the absolute truth about your life, your environment, and the people around you. And there is a deep, hidden part inside of you that is absolutely terrified of that truth. Let us talk about that fear. You say you want absolute clarity. You pray for the brain fog to lift. But if you are brutally honest with yourself, if you look into the darkest, most raw corners of your own mind, there is a voice whispering a terrifying question. What happens if I actually wake up? What happens if my mind operates at 100% capacity and my intuition becomes razor sharp? Because if you are completely awake, you can no longer lie to yourself. The brain fog, as miserable as it is, has actually been serving as a subconscious defense mechanism. It is a psychological shield protecting you from having to make agonizingly painful decisions. Think about it. If the fog completely lifts today, you will have to admit that the relationship you have been holding on to is spiritually dead. You will have to admit that the career you have been pouring your soul into is actually a prison cell designed to keep you small. You will see the subtle manipulation of your family members with terrifying clarity. Waking up means the end of your comfort zone. Deep down, you are terrified that stepping into your full, brilliant power will make you completely unrelatable to the people around you. You are afraid that success and spiritual genius will turn you into an outcast, completely alone. You are scared of your own calling. This specific fear of your own magnitude is not new. In 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, the Apostle Paul wrote, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." You have likely heard this quoted as a simple encouragement when someone is feeling a little anxious, but you must look at the historical context to understand the weight of this revelation. Paul was writing this letter from a cold, dark Roman dungeon. He was facing execution, and he was writing to Timothy, a young, incredibly gifted, chosen one who was shrinking back from his massive calling. Timothy was not just having a bad day, he was actively suppressing his own spiritual gifts because he was intimidated by the hostile matrix surrounding him. He was terrified of standing out. Paul was not just telling him to cheer up, he was issuing a spiritual command to diagnose the attack. Paul was revealing that this specific type of paralyzing timidity, this desire to hide your genius and blend in with the sleepwalking masses, is not a natural human emotion. It is an implanted spirit. It is a foreign frequency designed to keep a sound, brilliant mind trapped in a state of hesitant mediocrity. Accepting this fear is your first step to mastering it. Feeling intimidated by your own potential does not make you a coward. It is the ultimate proof that your calling is massive. But once you decide to stop hiding, once you begin using the 7-minute sound technology to shatter the matrix programming and restore your theta frequency, you face a new challenge. When your brain shifts out of the chaotic beta state and back into the divine prophetic frequency, your mind becomes incredibly open, highly receptive, and deeply sensitive. You are like a deep-sea diver coming up to the surface. You cannot just rip off your helmet. You must protect this newly restored, delicate frequency from being immediately recontaminated by the world. To do this, you must implement what I call the 3-gate frequency guard. Without moving your body, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and visualize yourself standing inside a massive, impenetrable fortress of light. Around this fortress, there are 3 heavy iron gates. You are the sole commander of these gates. The first gate is the eye gate. When you wake up in the morning and complete your 7-minute audio ritual, your brain is in its most pure, receptive theta state. Do not immediately open the eye gate to the matrix. If the first thing you do is grab your phone, scroll through toxic news, or watch 60 seconds of artificial drama, you are instantly violently dragging your brain back into the beta survival frequency. You are letting the enemy walk right through the front door. You must guard the eye gate for the first hour of your day. Keep your vision locked on your purpose, on your gratitude, on the quiet reality of your own breathing. The second gate is the ear gate. This requires a tactic called strategic deafness. When you walk into your workplace or sit at a family dinner and people begin to gossip, complain, or project their own beta frequency anxieties onto you, you do not need to argue with them. You simply close the ear gate. You nod politely, but internally, you completely detach your emotional receiver. You visualize their words hitting an invisible glass wall and sliding down to the floor. You refuse to let their chaotic audio frequencies disrupt your internal stillness. The third gate is the mouth gate. This is the most powerful and the most dangerous of all. When your frequency is elevated, your words carry the creative weight of the universe. You must stop speaking your struggles into existence. Stop calling your friends to rehearse how tired you are. Stop vocalizing how unfair the matrix is. Every time you complain, you are using your divine vocal cords to command the universe to send you more exhaustion. Close the gate of complaining. From this day forward, you only open the mouth gate to speak the destination, never the obstacle. You control the pace of your awakening. By using the sound ritual to elevate your state, and using these 3 gates to protect it, you ensure that your transformation is safe, calculated, and permanent. You no longer have to fear the clarity because you are the one guarding the fortress. Comment, I guard my gates, to establish this boundary in the spiritual realm right now. You might think these 3 gates are just psychological theory. Let me tell you what happened to a chosen one exactly 9 months ago when they applied this exact sound ritual and this strategic silence in a highly toxic corporate environment. They were sitting in a sterile, fluorescent-lit cubicle on a Tuesday afternoon. They described feeling like a ghost haunting their own life, staring blindly at spreadsheets while their souls slowly suffocated under the weight of a boss who constantly belittled them. The brain fog was so incredibly dense they could barely remember their morning commute. They were operating on absolute high beta survival mode, completely resigned to a life of quiet desperation, believing that God had simply forgotten them in this corporate wasteland. But then they drew a line in the sand. They began the 7-minute sound ritual every single morning, before letting the cold light of their phone dictate their mood. Before checking a single demanding email, they put on their headphones. They allowed the acoustic technology to bypass their exhausted conscious mind and entrain their brainwaves back into the divine theta state. And crucially, they rigorously applied the 3-gate frequency guard. They stopped participating in the toxic gossip at the water cooler. They stopped calling their friends to complain about how miserable they were. They sealed their gates. By day 14, they noticed the crushing weight on their chest was gone. But by day 21, the heavy mental fog completely shattered. Because their brain was finally operating on the prophetic frequency, they did not just feel well rested, they received a sudden, massive, intuitive download. While sitting in a pointless meeting, their gamma waves spiked, and they saw a massive gap in their industry. They saw a brilliant, simple business solution that their highly stressed-out managers were completely blind to. By day 40, they calmly printed a single piece of paper, placed their resignation on their boss's desk, and walked out of that glass building forever. They did not leave in a fit of emotional anger. They left in absolute chilling clarity. They broke out of the matrix because they repaired their frequency first, and their physical reality had to follow. This is the exact spiritual mechanics described in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. The prophet declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Notice the sequence of this divine pattern. The stream in the wasteland is an illogical miracle. The modern matrix is your wasteland. It is dry, stressful, and meticulously designed to kill your spiritual momentum. But when your physical brain shifts out of survival mode and into the theta and gamma frequencies, God literally opens a rushing river of divine intelligence right in the middle of your corporate or financial desert. He does not always teleport you out of the wilderness immediately. He gives you the frequency to navigate the water and build your own exit strategy. But here is the absolute most critical warning you will hear today. This is where so many chosen ones fail. You might think that once the brain fog lifts, once you establish your boundaries and your spiritual antenna is finally receiving a clear, brilliant signal from heaven, that it is happily ever after. You think the spiritual war is over. Listen to me very carefully. When a high-value prisoner quietly escapes their cell, the warden does not just wish them well and look the other way. The alarms go off. The searchlights turn on. When your frequency spikes, when you stop emitting the low vibration of a fearful, easily controlled victim and start radiating the undeniable light of a fully awakened spirit, the Matrix takes immediate notice. The enemy sees your signal light up on their radar, and they immediately launch a coordinated counterattack to drag your frequency back down into the dirt. You must be tactically prepared for what happens next. There are 7 specific forms of confrontation that the Matrix will use against you the very moment you activate your true potential. Today, I am exposing the first 3, so you are not caught off guard. The first form of confrontation is the urgent crisis. This is a highly engineered distraction tactic. It almost always happens within the first hour after you finish your morning activation ritual. Right when your frequency is at its absolute highest and most pure, suddenly the car will not start. Or you receive an incredibly aggressive, completely fabricated email from a client, or a pipe bursts in your house. The enemy does not actually care about your car or your plumbing. The demonic strategy is to manufacture a sudden burst of panic to violently shock your nervous system. They want to trigger an adrenaline dump, forcing you instantly out of the theta state and back into the high-stress beta state. They need you reacting, not creating. When this happens, you must perform a mental override. Do not rush to fix the problem in a blind panic. Stand completely still, visualize a thick, soundproof glass wall dropping between you and the crisis. Take one slow breath and say out loud, "I see the bait, and I absolutely refuse to bite." The second form of confrontation is the reasonable doubt attack. This one is incredibly dangerous because the enemy will use the people you love the most to deliver the poison. You will be sitting at a coffee shop or across a dining table with a close friend or a family member. You will share just a small fraction of your new vision or your new boundaries, and they will look at you with genuine loving concern. They will say, "Are you sure this is a safe idea? You really need to be realistic. You are changing too much, too fast, and people are talking. It sounds like logic. It looks like love. But it is actually a parasitic frequency designed to plant a microscopic seed of hesitation in your spirit." The Matrix uses their beta frequency anxiety to try and cancel out your theta frequency clarity. When this happens, you must immediately close the ear gate. You smile, you nod politely, but internally, you visualize reaching up and pulling the plug on their broadcast. You do not argue. You just mentally disconnect. The third form of confrontation is the ghost of the past. The very moment you start making real, undeniable progress, the moment you finally feel clean and spiritually aligned, you will suddenly be hit with an overwhelming, illogical wave of guilt. Out of nowhere, while you are driving or making dinner, you will vividly remember a humiliating mistake you made 5 years ago. Or you will get a random, disruptive text message from a toxic ex who has not spoken to you in 12 months. Why right now? Because guilt and shame are the absolute lowest vibrational frequencies in the human body. They physically cannot coexist with the prophetic frequency. The enemy sends the ghost of your past to convince you that you are a fraud, hoping you will voluntarily lower your vibration out of deep shame. When the ghost appears, you do not entertain it. In your mind's eye, visualize a massive chalkboard covered in the dark, messy ink of your past mistakes. Now, visualize a brilliant, blinding white light completely erasing the board in one single powerful sweep. Comment, "It is erased," to finalize this spiritual cleansing in the physical realm right now. That is 3 basic attacks. But the 4th, 5th, and 6th attacks are truly sophisticated. In fact, there is an attack aimed directly at your identity that 90% of chosen ones fall for. The 4th form of confrontation is the identity mirror. This is the exact attack on your identity that takes down so many awakened souls. You will start maintaining your high frequency, setting your gates, and refusing to engage in low vibration drama. And then, someone very close to you will look you dead in the eye and say, "You have changed so much lately. I do not even know who you are anymore. You used to be so sweet, so humble, so accommodating, but now you are just acting arrogant." Hear me clearly. They are not speaking from their own spirit. The Matrix is using their vocal cords to project shame onto your new boundaries. They are trying to make you feel guilty for outgrowing the cage they were comfortable seeing you in. The Apostle Paul warned us about this highly coordinated psychological warfare in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 and 12. He wrote, "Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes." But you must look at the original Greek text to understand what you are actually fighting. The word translated as schemes is methodia. It does not mean a physical battle with swords or obvious monsters. Methodia literally means a highly sophisticated, cunning art, a deceptive psychological algorithm. The enemy attacks you with methodia. They use this method in the fifth form of attack, the saboteur of isolation. They whisper in your ear that no one will ever understand your new frequency, pushing you to cut off healthy connections and isolate yourself completely in bitterness. They use the sixth form, phantom fatigue, where a sudden, unexplainable physical heaviness drops on your shoulders the exact second you sit down to listen to your audio ritual or work on your vision. And finally, the seventh form, the illusion of delay. They manipulate your perception of time, convincing you that because your bank account did not multiply in 48 hours, your frequency work is useless. They want you to surrender right before the vault opens. But you can break every single one of these methods. Let me tell you about a fiercely dedicated chosen one who was acting as an exhausted caregiver. They were completely drained, living in a house filled with heavy, toxic, narcissistic energy that constantly triggered their survival mode. When they first began tuning into the theta frequency, the confrontation was brutal. Their family members escalated the arguments, trying to drag them back into the beta state of constant fighting. They used the identity mirror attack daily, calling this chosen one selfish for taking time to meditate. But this chosen one refused to break. Instead of arguing back, they visualized a shield of pure, burning white light expanding from their chest every single time an insult was thrown. They held their frequency. By day 30, something miraculous happened. The toxic individuals in the house simply stopped confronting them. They literally could not stand the high frequency radiating from this chosen one, so they avoided them entirely or left the environment. The chosen one did not have to shout a single word. Their vibration alone cleared the room. And this brings us to the ultimate revelation, the massive paradigm shift you have been waiting for. I need you to bring your awareness to the center of your chest right now. Feel that sudden radiating heat, that spark of absolute authority waking up inside of your ribcage as I tell you this truth. You have been looking at all this spiritual warfare, the lost friendships, the sudden obstacles, the bizarre resistance from the Matrix, and you have been asking yourself, why is the enemy attacking me so relentlessly? Am I doing something wrong? Is my faith too weak to hold this frequency? No, you are looking at the battlefield completely backward. The Matrix is not attacking you because you are weak. The Matrix is attacking you in an absolute blind panic because your frequency is suddenly terrifying to them. When your brain was bogged down in the heavy fog of the beta state, when you were depressed and confused, you were practically invisible in the spiritual realm. You were just another sleeping battery powering their system. But the second you began restoring your original brainwaves, the second your gamma frequency spiked and your intuition woke up, you lit up on the spiritual radar like a blinding, roaring sun in a world of darkness. They are not attacking you to destroy you. They are throwing everything they have at you because they are desperately trying to turn your light off before you wake up the others around you. This is the profound mystery of Psalm 23 verse 5. King David wrote, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Have you ever stopped to wonder why God would set up a beautiful, abundant banquet right in the middle of a battlefield, surrounded by people who want to destroy you? Why not just take you away to a peaceful mountain? Because heaven wants the enemy to watch. God prepares that table to show the dark forces of the matrix that no matter what illusions they cast, no matter what panic they try to induce, your frequency is absolutely untouchable. The presence of the enemy is not a sign of your failure. It is the audience God has assembled to witness your undisputed victory. Every single attack you are facing today is a screaming confirmation from the underworld that you are a massive threat to their system. You are a walking, breathing disruption to the matrix. Your elevated wave state is tearing down their architecture. Comment, "I am the disruption," to claim your absolute authority over this warfare right now. Let the enemy see your signature. Now that you know the resistance is actually the ultimate proof of your power, you cannot just sit back. You have been playing defense and guarding your gates for far too long. So, how do you flip the script? How do you take this surging, newly restored frequency and use it as an offensive weapon to bend reality and command your blessings to manifest, instead of just shielding yourself from attacks? To turn your restored frequency into an offensive weapon, you must master a framework I call the manifestation echo. Up until now, when you prayed or tried to manifest, you were likely operating from the beta state. You were praying from a place of deep panic, lack, and exhaustion. You were looking at your bills, looking at your loneliness, and begging the universe to intervene. But begging is a low vibration behavior. Begging implies that you are separate from the source and that you are powerless against the matrix. You cannot bend reality while operating on the frequency of fear. But when you use the sound technology to pull your brain out of the survival loop, when you enter the deep, receptive stillness of the theta wave, the rules of reality change. You do not ask the matrix for permission, you echo the will of heaven. In the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 2 and 3, the Lord gives a very specific command. He says, "Write the revelation and make it plain, for the revelation awaits an appointed time." The prophet was not told to write a wish list. He was commanded to document an absolute decree. He was told to echo the reality that was already established in the divine realm into the physical realm. This is exactly how you use the manifestation echo. Tomorrow morning, when you put on your headphones and begin your 7-minute audio ritual, I want you to perform a specific mental action. Without moving your lips, I want you to visualize your vocal cords glowing with a brilliant golden light. As the acoustic waves quiet your anxious mind, you do not focus on your problems. You internally broadcast the solution as a finished fact. You do not think, "I hope I get out of debt." You command, "My financial channels are open and flooded with abundance." You do not say, "Please heal my exhaustion." You declare, "My cells are vibrating with divine energy." The audio technology stabilizes your brainwaves, holding you in the prophetic frequency, and your silent, internal decree acts as the echo that bends the physical reality around you to match that new state. You become a human broadcast tower of divine intention. When you commit to this daily echo and guard your gates, a very specific prophetic timeline is triggered in your life. I need you to know exactly what is going to happen over the next 40 days, so you do not falter. In days 1 through 7, you will experience the immediate detox. The heavy, suffocating static behind your eyes will evaporate. You will wake up and realize the unnatural apathy is gone. Your nervous system will finally exhale. In days 8 through 21, you will experience the relational purge. This is when the matrix will panic and try to launch those 7 forms of confrontation we exposed earlier. They will send the urgent crisis and the identity mirror to test your new frequency. But because you are anchored in Theta, and because your gates are fiercely guarded, Every single counterattack of the enemy will be completely crushed. Their attempts to drag you down will actually bounce off your frequency. You will calmly watch toxic connections and draining habits detach from your life effortlessly without you having to fight them. You will see their manipulation coming a mile away, and you will simply smile and remain untouchable. Then, from day 22 to 40, you will enter the acceleration phase. This is when your gamma waves will begin to spike. You will be driving in your car or taking a shower, and you will experience sudden, massive downloads of divine intelligence. Solutions to problems that plagued you for years will drop into your mind fully formed. Unexplainable synchronicities will line up perfectly. Financial blueprints, creative ideas, and clear directions for your true purpose will become incredibly loud. The matrix will no longer be able to hide your destiny from you. But receiving this timeline requires a final, permanent commitment. You cannot hear this revelation and go back to sleep. You cannot understand the mechanics of the matrix and willingly plug yourself back into the machine. You are standing at the absolute edge of your old life. I need you to mentally prepare yourself right now. Feel your spine align. Feel the authority settling deep into your bones. Take one long, slow breath in and hold it for just a second as you realize who you truly are. Now, exhale the fog completely. Everything has been revealed. The weapon is in your hands. The frequency is ready. The only question remaining is, do you dare to step up and seal your destiny right in this exact moment? Prepare your position. Wherever you are right now, whether you are resting in bed or sitting quietly, do not move a single muscle. I want you to mentally drop your shoulders. Command the tension in your neck and your jaw to completely dissolve. This is not a passive closing prayer. This is an active, militant activation ceremony. In your mind's eye, place your hand firmly over your heart. Open your spirit and receive this transmission. Father God, creator of all light and all frequencies, in the mighty, matchless name of Yeshua, we stand before your throne. We declare that this is a set time in the spiritual realm. The matrix of confusion, the synthetic nets of the enemy, and the artificial exhaustion are permanently broken in this exact moment. The broadcast of fear is cancelled. Father, you see this chosen one. You see the hundreds of nights they stared at the ceiling in the dark, feeling their brilliant mind wrapped in a thick, suffocating fog. You heard them cry out in silent frustration when their own physical brain felt like a prison cell. You saw the agonizing exhaustion they meticulously masked with a polite smile every single day at work. But they did not surrender to the matrix. They sought the absolute truth. They refused to settle for a life of quiet desperation, and you orchestrated the universe to bring them to this exact frequency today. In the supreme authority of Yeshua, I seal this profound revelation into their spirit. I seal the three-gate frequency guard around their mind right now. I command the eye gate, the ear gate, and the mouth gate to be locked against the toxic static of the world. I bind every spirit of heavy slumber. I bind the identity mirror, the urgent crisis, and every single form of phantom fatigue assigned to derail their destiny. I seal the activation of their dormant, God-given potential. I decree that as they engage in their 7-minute daily sound ritual, as they actively use the tool you have provided to bypass the noise, their theta and gamma waves will permanently and effortlessly align with heaven's pure broadcast. I declare that the enemy can no longer jam their signal. I declare that the 40-day prophetic timeline is officially set in motion. I decree that the unnatural brain fog lifts completely and permanently within the next 7 days. Their absolute clarity is returning. Their divine intuition is becoming razor sharp. Over the next 40 days, as you explore the sound technology linked in the description and begin your daily activation ritual, I decree that dormant million-dollar ideas will aggressively awaken. Miraculous financial blueprints will download directly into your conscious mind. The relational purge will happen effortlessly, removing every toxic parasite from your environment. You are permanently moving from the frequency of anxious static to crystal clear divine reception. Your manifestation echo is locked into the fabric of reality. Chosen one, heaven is asking you a direct question right now. Will you fiercely guard this new frequency? Will you commit to tuning in daily, using the tools you have been given, and absolutely refusing to absorb the panic of the world? If your answer is yes, I want you to say it silently but forcefully in the center of your spirit right now. Say yes. Say, I activate my genius. Heaven has recorded that signature. The contract is signed. Go now. You are officially dismissed from the fog. You are deployed into absolute clarity. You are no longer a victim of the system. You are the architect of your reality. Walk in your supreme genius. In the mighty, conquering name of Yeshua, do not say Amen yet. Hold your position in this profound silence for just a moment. Feel the last remnants of the static drain completely out of your mind. Now, Amen.